This episode of Brains on Games will talk about a potato-themed family game where you're trying to be crowned King Spud. Welcome to Brains on Games. I'm Dr. Brian McDonald, and this episode we are going to talk in a couple of minutes about a family weight game that's all about being crowned King Spud. A silly game from the folks at Dolphin Hat Games. You may be familiar with that name. Dolphin Hat came out with a game called Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza not too long ago. And this is another game where you're really racing. Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, you're really trying to work very fast to be the first one to slap a deck of cards. But this is called Gimme That. And it is a game where you have to work fast. Gimme That is a game for kids aged 8 and up. You can play it with between 3 and 8 players, and it probably gets crazier the more players that you have. But it only takes about 10 minutes to play a game because you're really racing to do something. And I'm going to show you what that is while we take a deeper look at Gimme That. Gimme That is a very light family game that you can play very quickly and learn very quickly. There are hardly any rules for you to remember. And in fact, the first time I played it was with my wife and my mother-in-law, who never play these kinds of games because they see them as being too complicated. They don't want to sit down and listen to me lecture them about all the rules of a particular game. But this one was so easy, they were willing to give it a try, and they did have lots of laughs while we did it. Each player is going to start with one of these spud sheets that has 100 potatoes on it. And the way that you win the game is by being the first one to count all of your 100 potatoes. You literally write the number on your potatoes from 1 to 100, and you're trying to do that as quickly as possible so you can be crowned King Spud. If you win the game, there are a bunch of stickers in the box that you can put one on your score sheet if you're the king, or you can, or the queen, I guess, or you can put it on your binder for school if you wanted to. It's just a silly picture of a potato with a crown. But the wrinkle here is that, yeah, you've got lots of these sheets. Each person is going to get one. You can play lots of games. It's a great big thick pad. You've got lots of stickers that you can hand out for the winners. You've only got one pencil. So only one person is going to be writing those numbers. And that's where things get tricky, because the other players also would like to be writing numbers on their spud sheets, but they can't do that until they get the pencil. How do you get the pencil away from the starting player? Now, first of all, you're going to hand out those spud sheets. You're going to choose the starting player. The starting player is the last one who had French fries. There are lots of little potato-themed puns in this game, but the player beside the one who's writing those numbers is going to start rolling this big, chunky die. The die has 2 faces on it. These are the ones you want to roll with a picture of a pencil. So you've got a pencil, and if you roll the pencil, the person who rolled it gets to say, "Gimme that." They grab the pencil from the player who's writing the numbers, and then they start writing the numbers on their spud sheet. The next person is going to be rolling the die. So you're going around the circle, rolling this die as quickly as possible in an effort to try and get the pencil so that you can write numbers on your spud sheet as fast as you can. But of course, there are only 2 sides of this die that have the pencil on them. What do you do with the other 4 sides of this cube? Well, there are lots of actions that you have to remember and little phrases that you have to say if other sides come face up while you're rolling. One of those is a potato masher. So if you roll the potato masher, what you have to do is bang your fists on the table. Now, I'm not going to do that because the mic will pick it up, but you're banging your fist on the table and you're shouting "mashed potatoes," of course, because it's a potato-themed game. If you happen to roll this little high five symbol, then everybody has to give the other players, except the one who's writing. There's only one other die on here that affects one other die face that affects the person who is writing the numbers, besides grabbing their pencil out of their hand, and I'll talk about that in a second. But this means all the other players who aren't writing are going to be giving one another simultaneous high five. You kind of go around the circle like that and give everyone a high five. You have to shout "high fry," though, because it's potato themed and we're talking about French fries. You might also roll a fist bump side of the die, and the fist bump is a spud bump, not a fist bump. Then you're doing those simultaneous fist bumps along the side. and you're trying to do this as fast as you can. So you have to remember the phrase and remember the action, and you're rushing to do it as quickly as possible while this other person is trying not to be too distracted by the shenanigans that are going on around the table. The other side, the one that does affect the player who's writing, is that you might also roll the side that says left. And that means everyone has to pass their spud sheet to the player on their left, and then you continue writing on whatever sheet is in front of you. That's how my mother-in-law won the game. I was frantically writing these numbers because I knew all of the rules. I guess I was able to do it quite quickly, and I got it up to 97, and then and my wife rolled left. I had to pass my sheet away, and then my mother-in-law won the game. So she figures she has bragging rights because she's King Spud now. So you might not finish the game. You're unlikely, honestly, to finish the game with the sheet that you started with. You'll be piggybacking on someone else's work, and that is the whole game. In a nutshell, you're rolling these dice, you're passing it around to each player, and you're rolling as fast as you can in an effort to get that pencil away or to pass those sheets so that the person who's writing is going to have one that has lots more spuds to fill in, and you just play until the sheet is full. This is the second game I've played from Dolphin Hat Games. I have played Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. These are both games where you're just racing to take actions as quickly as you can. And that's the question that I want to ask you this episode. Do you have a favorite speed game where you have to play very quickly that you like to play with your friends or your kids or your parents? I'd love to know about it. You can leave me a comment in the comments section below. But what skills are you working on when you're playing a game like this? It's not a strategy game. It's not really a game where your skills are necessarily going to allow you to win because you're passing your work along to somebody else. And that's what happened to me. So what skills are you developing when you're playing this game? Well, processing speed is a big one. And processing, the speed at which you process information is a skill that we measure when we're assessing kids for learning problems. How quickly can you work with something that's simple? And you have to have some confidence in order to be able to work quickly. You can't second guess yourself if you're working quickly. And there are lots of things that you have to do quickly in this game. There's the physical act of rolling and passing the die. There's quickly remembering what it is that you have to do based on the side that comes up. There's quickly taking that action. There's quickly counting and writing. So everything has to happen very quickly. And there is that memory component. You have to remember how to count. So of course, there's a counting component to this game. You're not just remembering the numbers in order. You have to be able to write them and write them quickly and automatically. So there's some automaticity that's important for the counting part of the game. But you also have to remember all the actions and phrases that go along with the faces that come up on this die. And it is a challenge because your first thought when you see the high five symbol is not to say hi fry, it's to say high five, of course. So you're almost resisting that temptation to say the phrase that you already know in order to say the one that matches with the game, like I said, as fast as you can. The other thing, I think, and one of the maybe the most challenging thing about this game is that the player who has the pencil has to resist the distractions that are going on around the table while they're writing. And that is hard to do because everybody's laughing and giving each other fist bumps and high fives, and they're trying to go as fast as they can. And there's lots of nonsense that happens around the table when you play a game like this. That's what makes it fun. I think fun to watch as well. My father-in-law was shaking his head the entire time we were playing this thing, but it didn't take very long to play. So there's lots of nonsense that's going to be happening around the table that might distract the person who's trying to write, and that writer has to really stay focused on what they're doing. I know I had to go back because I skipped a number because something was happening at the time when I'm writing. I had to go back and fix it, so that slowed me down. So I think resisting distractions is probably one of the most important skills you're developing. I mean, in addition to the counting and the number writing that you have to do when you're filling in that sheet. Final thoughts about Gimme That. Well, first of all, this is an extremely silly game. There's lots of nonsense and laughter that goes on around the table when you're playing something like this, as you're racing to roll the die as fast as you can. So it is very silly. I've never played a game that had potatoes as the theme, and this one definitely is all about potatoes. And uh, it's fun to yell "Gimme that" and grab a pencil out of someone's hand while you're playing. So the potato theme and the silliness and the things that you have to shout, I do think it's a perfect game for younger kids who are learning to write those numbers, because you have to be able to write those quickly, but at the same time, everything's balanced out because they might get their parents' sheet, who's already filled in the numbers up to 50, and then they have to start at 51. So it's a game where your skill isn't necessarily going to win you the game. It keeps things balanced because there's enough randomness in there. So the younger kids, certainly, if they need to practice their numbers, this is a good game for them to do that. And it's just fast and silly and ridiculous. There's not a lot of thought involved when you're playing this game. It's just to get together and be silly and have fun with your friends. And that, in a nutshell, is Gimme That from Dolphin Hat Games. Thanks so much to the folks at Dolphin Hat Games for sending this game my way. If you have any questions or comments about Gimme That or about Brains on Games in general, you can leave them in the comments section below the video, or you can email me at brian@brainsongames.ca. Brainsongames.ca is the website. That's where future episodes will go, and the previous ones are up there already. Brains on Games is the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the Instagram feed, so we're all over the place. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to be notified of future ones, you can head on over to YouTube and click that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and hopefully I'll see you next time.